This is an abundant insight. I'm Carl Meyer, and today I have Juana Borkeman with Evoke Experience Agency. I'm so used to Evoke Experience, but now Evoke Experience Agency. And Juana is going to share with us how experience marketing can really transform your brand, especially in this digital age. So, Juana, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And so, well, first, what is an experience agency for, those of us who, don't see that every day?
Yeah, so essentially, just like you said, we live in a very digital world now. And I think that there's a lot of things that we take for granted that used to happen just naturally, just in-person interactions and shaking hands and having dinners with people. And so, especially now today, we live in such a virtual world. And even before COVID, we lived in a virtual world where we did a lot of our interactions over email and phone calls and now video calls. But ultimately, having that personal human touch is still crucial and essential in any kind of relationship. So whether you are a B2C business or a B2B business, and you can put all of your money into advertising and marketing and social media marketing, you still have to give your customers a great experience to build a brand loyalty. So what we call an experience, if you can touch it, see it, feel it, smell it, that's an experience. Taste it, right? So if you walk into a room, into a store, and it smells great, and you have a smiling face greet you, and they greet you the same every time, and they say your name, then that's a part of the experience. And on the other side of it, if you walk into an office building that smells like sewage and no one says hello to you, that's part of the experience too. So what we do is we focus on that. We focus on those human-to-human interactions, the personal touches, the details. What makes you stand out from an experience standpoint? You can have ads everywhere, but once that customer walks through your doors or you have them on the phone, what is their experience with you? So that's what we focus on.
Okay. So I can kind of imagine, walking into a store, what that's people greeting me. And I guess with Amazon, that's probably even more important to have that kind of experience of walking into a store. Is that, part of what you're talking about?
Absolutely. So that specifically is what we call customer experience strategy. So it's looking at your overarching goals in a business and saying, okay, how do I want to build brand loyalty, customer loyalty, and how do I want to differentiate myself from my competitors? And ultimately, if you have something that differentiates you, so your customers go to Amazon for most of their things, but when they walk through in your store, you get up and help them, and you get to know them, and you get to know what they like and what they dislike, and you show them how they can customize something. That's a different experience for them. And then if you go one step further and you call them and say, thank you for the purchase, or we want to know how you like the items that you purchased for us, now all of a sudden someone cares and is following up with them. So that's a strategy, right? That's the strategy of how do I want to make an impact on my customer? How do I differentiate what I do? And that's a little bit different than focusing on the details if you're a B2B business. But when you're in front of a consumer, you have to stand out through what they experience when they come into your doors.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, you mentioned B2B, so that's a little harder for me to kind of immediately think of. So maybe you've got some example or to help me, better understand how that experiential marketing would, happen with a B2B situation.
Absolutely. So typically in a B2B business, it's usually service oriented. You may have some more in-person interactions, but a lot of times that is directly associated to sales, right? So it's a customer that you are doing business with. So when you have a customer that you want to build a relationship with, you start thinking about things that are important to them. So for example, you're my customer. I probably want to get to know you, know your family. Like, are you married? Do you have kids? When's your birthday? What type of wine do you drink? What, kind of sports do you do? Little things like that. So when it comes time to impress you, say you come visit me, what details can I do? What little things can I plan to make it a better experience for you? So for example, you flying in, maybe I'll do an airport pickup, take you to your hotel that I booked for you, You'll have a room gift and a welcome card waiting. I'll arrange a hotel pickup for dinner. And at dinner, we'll already have your favorite wine waiting for you. And then potentially an appetizer that we know that you love. So you love ceviche, we already have that on the table. Those little details make all the difference for you, right? And then it comes birthday time. I might want to send you a gift. Well, it's really nice to get a handwritten card from someone, right? And then that gift that you get, well, I know that you really like fishing and you're a very active person. I get you something that's relevant to what you like. All of those things sound really normal and simple, but it's those small details that people forget about in the busy world we live in today. And it's so much easier to just send an email. It's so much easier to say happy birthday to someone on Facebook. It's so much easier to do an open table reservation and hope the person just shows up. So you're not going to lose necessarily if you don't pay attention to the details, but the person that does pay attention to the small details will win. Does that make sense? Because you as a customer will remember them better. You'll remember your interactions better. You'll remember your dinner much better. Other examples, we think of events, and events sound like this big thing that you have to commit to. But an event really is just something we know we have to get ready for. We have to dress a certain way. We want to show up on time. It's something we look forward to. We know there might be pictures being taken. So why not treat every interaction with an important customer as an event?
Mm-hmm. Right. That's, I mean, what you're saying, on the one hand, it sounds very, obvious. Well, of course you want to take good care of your best customer and remember what they like and don't like. But I think the point, you're making is that, we're all so busy, it's hard to keep up with, just our own lives and family and whatever, and, all the paperwork and emails we've got to deal with. So having somebody that really focus on those details and make sure it gets done right, that's a huge benefit. It's cool.
And also sometimes it's part of the strategy, right? I mean, we understand the concept of standard operating procedures when it comes to certain things in our business, but you don't think including a handwritten note is part of an SOP that you have. You don't think reminding your staff to say 3 specific welcoming words is part of an SOP, but those things are, and sometimes we don't know that we're missing them until someone from the outside comes in and says, this would really elevate the experience. This would really help. Or, your customers feel like they don't hear from you enough. Why don't you try these little extra check-in touches to stay relevant to them? So it's not just that we're busy, but in our own businesses, we forget to be introspective and pay attention to that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, an outside perspective, picks up on a whole different set of things just by nature. Yep. Well, that's fantastic. So now I can see how that's really powerful for customers. How can that be used internally?
Good question. So just like our customers need to have a good experience, so do our employees. So if you talk to anyone in HR or in culture training or anything related to employee satisfaction, your employees are your business. If they're not happy, if they don't get a good example of how to treat other people, we always talk about top-down management. They're not going to give the best service to their customer. So if management looks at their employees the same way they look at customers, then you make the same efforts to retain your employees as you do your customers. So employee appreciation programs are great. Executive retreats, those are more common. Sales incentives, where you incentivize your sales team and the winners get to either go on a trip or do something special or get special gifts. So any of these things are simple concepts that we've heard of, but sometimes you just need to remember to do them. Sometimes you just need to be able to figure out what's the best option and what will fit in your budget, because no matter what your budget is, you can find something that works. And it might just be as simple as having a recognition happy hour, or maybe a gifting program, but something that recognizes your employees internally is just as important.
Right. That's a good point. It reminds me of a random scene in a movie where, business owners asking another business person what to get his secretary. And the other, business owner, is like, I have no idea, get her a scarf, And so, I think like you said earlier about, having an outside perspective, you know, sometimes you're so close to someone, you really don't know, what do those, type of, people, that, I know them, but I don't know what they
Yeah.
like. So is that something you guys work with?
Absolutely. So we do a lot of gifting. Um, we can do branded items or just gift specific items, doesn't really matter. The great thing about going to an outside agency like us is that not only do we have experience in it and kind of know what a female in her 30s may want versus a retired male versus someone who's just joining the workforce, right? You have a general baseline idea of what's appropriate and what falls under certain budgets. But the other benefit is that we do the work for you. So you don't have to sit there and just Google and search and go from store to store or go to Amazon and get something generic. So you just come to us and we'll say, okay, well, how many people do you want to get this for? What's your budget? What's the point of this gift? And then we'll send you ideas. And all you have to do is pick, and we will manage the entire process for you, and it's done. So we can do that on a small scale or a large scale.
Great, great. Well, it sounds like you work with a wide range of businesses, both on external customer facing as well as internal employee situations. Are there, any little tips for, somebody who's trying to do some of these things on their own that, might be helpful for them?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest and best tip I can give you is pay attention to the details, right? And sometimes the details are the smallest thing, and sometimes they're honestly even the cheapest thing. A lot of people get caught up in what big extravagant thing they can do. And honestly, especially if you're just getting started out and you don't have a big budget, sometimes just picking up the phone and saying thank you is one of the biggest things you can do, or handwriting a thank you card. In terms of employee, same with employees, honestly, whether it's a customer or employee, just saying thank you is a big deal. Doing a birthday program, if you keep track of your employees' birthdays or your customer birthdays, or maybe their kids' birthdays, again, that's something very simple that shows that you're thinking of them. A lot of CRM programs can help you do that. And even when it comes to gifting, do something just slightly different. So instead of just sending a thank you note, maybe send a thank you note with a little succulent that lives on their desk. It's not a big expense, it's not a big deal, but it's just showing that you went a little bit above and beyond for that person. There's just so many ideas out there. The most important thing I can say is think of how you can stand out and don't forget the little details.
Right. Well, that's very helpful. I've certainly learned a lot today, so I appreciate you sharing all this with us.
Of course.
Everyone, if you want to learn more about experience marketing and Evoke, check the links in this post and find Juana's contact information. Thank you.
Thank you.